So let's call the meeting to order. It's 6:44. And okay, so I will start off with a prayer again, and then we will proceed. Okay. Heavenly Father, thank you for a wonderful spring. We're just always glad when it's warm and sunny. Ask you to bless us, bless our thoughts, bless our actions, bless the words, and help us to be kind and considerate. And Heavenly Father, filter our ears, filter our tongues, that we can do and move this thing, this project forward for the betterment of the community at large, for the generations that come behind us. In your name we pray, amen. Amen. Okay, we have quorum by the looks of it. There's another board member. Oh, that's right, there it is. Okay, then we all are all here. Jen is present with us on the computer. She is running her pharmacy in Red Deer. And as secretary and treasurer, we have got the recording going on the Zoom. So that's how our notes are going to get recorded for this year. So yeah, I think that's really all there is to say. I'll just speak to that. Inside of our, we want to just set our meeting conduct and our expectations. And we want to try to speak through the chair. I know Mrs. Goodwin isn't here to be our moderator, but she was really good at keeping us on task with that. So I would just invite all of us, in case I lose presence to that, let's just keep on so we can have clean and clear and fair conversations. We'll try and stay, not try, we're going to stay on the agenda. So if we start to deviate, then I'll try and interrupt, bring us back on track. And let's just remember to be respectful. I know I'm just referencing from last meeting, there was plenty of heated emotions, no doubt. And so let's just try and not let those interfere too much with the listening and the speaking, and be respectful. Everybody's entitled to their view, their history, and everything that goes along with this, and let's keep it professional. For the matters of deliberation, if that comes up, what I am going to request is that when there is something that we want to speak to, we're going to come up to the front and speak to it inside of this green square that I've got. You'll speak from the mic, and we're just going to limit it to 2 minutes per person. And I will probably limit it to 3 to 5, discretionary, or I should say at my discretion, depending on what how it is going. And what I would like to do is get as fair as possible for and against any matter that comes up. So I will ask for one to speak for it, one to speak against it, and we'll take our turns. And if you want to, we'll go through it that way, and then we'll allow an opportunity to come around one more time for a follow-up conversation, and then we can move to a vote. Okay. My next request is, can you agree to these conditions of conduct at this meeting? Please, colored papers in the air for a yes. Okay, and any against? One against? Okay. Well, the motion carries forward to adopt these meeting conduct and expectations for this meeting. Thank you. Okay, next we will look at the agenda, and please review it. And I will ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Anita? No, you can stay there. Sorry. Anita makes a motion to approve it. Do we have a seconder?
Second, Carol Hall.
Carol Hall seconds it. Thank you for speaking your name. That was awesome. Okay. All in favor? Okay, none opposed? Motion carried to accept the agenda as presented. Okay, one small matter. How many people here are non-members? And the only reason I ask this is to see if we have a need for these colored papers or not. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so would it, I think it would be fairly safe to say that you can just, all of you are members with voting privileges at this AGM, except for those 3, so you go ahead and, would that be appropriate, Norm?
Well, I don't think there's any real challenge, just holding up. It's easier to count.
Amen. Okay, let's stick with order. Yellow, or the orange, in order to state your vote, just have that thing ready. So make sure that it's in a texture so that you can grab it and get it off. Bend a corner up or something so you can get it up in the air. We'll use that to confirm voting. Okay. Next item up, approval of the previous AGM minutes. Now, some of you have those. I only printed out about 10 copies. I have copies of the first one and the second one. And they're lengthy. I will, yeah, so that's part 2. I think that maybe most people may not have got part 1. I didn't anticipate everybody needing one, but if you'd like a copy, he's got a copy here.
Hold up your piece
Yes.
of paper if you want.
Hold up the yellow,
First come, first served.
hold up the yellow copy if you, orange copy.
Anything else?
Couple over here.
What was really handy having these recorded by Alex is that you can go back onto YouTube and look them up, which the link to those YouTube videos is in the top of those minutes. So, or if you just go onto Alex's website, they are listed there, if you look in history. Okay.
Just a brief. Maybe ask if there was any specific questions from the last meeting.
Yeah. Are there any specific questions from the last 2 meetings we had that you would like to get specifics on? Yes? As a guest, you're allowed to speak. If you raise,
I'll just remain quiet.
Okay.
Maybe you'll cover it by the time we get through.
okay.
Okay.
And yes, in case I didn't make it clear, just raise your hand and I will call on you to speak. And for the guests that are here, the few of you who don't have a membership, if you put up your hand, you're allowed to speak. You just can't vote or make a motion. Thank you. Okay, if there are no questions regarding the minutes from both first meeting and second meeting of the last AGM, I request a motion to approve them as presented. Yeah, that's okay. Anita,
I move to
approve the minutes?
the minutes presented.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Donna Fox.
Donna Fox, thank you. She seconds it. All in favor? Orange cards in the air, please. Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Now we will move on to the introduction of board members, and most of you probably haven't seen me since last time. I'm Brad Wolgamuth, resident of Stettler here for the last 35 years or so, and I am your president. Next up we have, and I will have Joey stand up and speak, and then...
Or you could just introduce yourself.
Okay, here we go. Joey, our wonderful guy who wishes he was worshiping hockey right now. There we go. Okay, and he's also a longtime resident of this county, and I won't get into any more deliberations. That's okay. Okay, next up we have Peter Miller. Thank you. And next up we have Norm Storch, our vice president.
I'm a resident of the special areas, but I got a visa today.
Okay. Okay, next up we have Clint Nealon, also a resident of this area for many years, I believe. And then we have Verna Rock, also longtime resident of this area.
Long time, right?
Okay, really long. Okay, next up we have Tracy Robinson. Thank you. And, what's that?
28 years.
28 years here. Okay, awesome, wonderful. That could go, 29 forever. All right, and then on camera, which you can't see her, we have Jen Taylor. Wow, just like that. Anyway, and yes, she has been a longtime supporter of this. She was a summer student, worked with Stan at the elevator for quite a few years, and she is our current secretary treasurer.
Give her new business a plug.
Yes.
Liberty Pharmacy in Red Deer.
Liberty Pharmacy in Red Deer. It's out in Leva Avenue, like in that Costco area. Yeah, she's got a really nice facility and a new clinic there. Go check her out when you're out wandering around, because you all go to Costco at some time.
We are going to bill you for the advertising, though, Jim.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Thank you. And I want to just acknowledge also, thank you to Alex for coming here and recording this and making this available to the public. And yeah, thank you to all of you for what you did this past year, for everything. And I also, I will do it later in my chair's report, but much appreciation to all of those involved in the history book project that Stan has been working passionately on. It's, there's a lot of labor and love went into that. Actually, Carol is heavily involved with that as well, right? Carol, probably James some too, but okay. Okay, yeah. And yes, thank you. And I think there's, I don't know, this is the part of me only being in the society here. I don't know the history or who's all been involved. But anyway, many of you have contributed to what goes on here. Thank you. Okay, next I will move into the Secretary's report. Very briefly, we have lifetime memberships, 101. In 2025, membership purchases were 43, and I believe that was largely at the AGM. 2026 membership purchases are 5 so far. And for society events, we had the Steam and Tea Party International Model Tea event at the museum in July of 2025, and we as a board took care of that. We fed about 150 people with a pulled pork supper with pie, and we raised about $1,600 there. The fall supper, October 2025, our total attendance was 87 people. 15% were active members, 16% previous members, 69% were non-members. The total amount we raised there was about $2,030, and it was cold. Winter celebration, which was in honor of Alf Erickson and the local agriculture. That was in January of 2026. Total attendance was 130 people. 26 active members, 12% previous members, 62 non-members. Total amount raised was $2,380 for the Homestead Park. And yeah, just also a little note of our board of directors meetings. We had 17 board meetings since May 13th, totaling about 34 hours and 39 minutes of meeting time. I'm not sure how she come up with the minutes, but I'll take it. And we also had, between Jen and I and a few others, we had probably another couple hundred hours of time each of us spent just on administrative stuff, working through the challenges. We had 2 resignations of board members, which were Jack Schultz and Brandy Page, which we certainly honor them and their commitment, and we wish them the best in what they carry on doing. Okay, I would request a request to accept the secretary's treasurer as presented. Smitty, Lyle Smith. I only know you as Smitty, really.
That's fine.
Okay, and I'll try and address you as your proper name. That's good. Do we have a seconder?
Larry Strandquist.
Larry Strandquist. Thank you. All in favor? None opposed? Motion carried, or a report accepted, I should say. Thank you. Next, we have the treasurer's report. And I would also just have you reference, I made copies of the 2025 report, which we had RWA prepare for us. And in the columns, you will notice it also contains the 2024 numbers. And at the back of that report is the 2023. So those are the 2 reports that I think we may not have had. I can't remember, but whatever, in case you were missing them, there they all are for the last 3 years. On the very back is a brief profit and loss or preliminary report, profit and loss report for our financials since January. Just note that there was, I'm not sure why we do not have December on there, but there was, I think, only a town water bill in December. So, as I said, it's a preliminary report and finer details to follow. And I acknowledge we had Rebecca Scott prepare that for us. She did a fantastic job, but she did it in the busy of tax season. Okay. Of note, our biggest expenditure was reimbursing Stan for operating expenses totaling $11,187 to cover various utilities and maintenance costs, coffee room expenses, and wages that were incurred from May to the August 2025. The Society has not approved any reimbursement for utilities paid by Stan since August of 2025. Stan has requested reimbursement for the utilities for Direct Energy and Apex between August and December, one of which is held in the name of his private company. To date, we have reimbursed Stan about $5,000 for summer student wages. Stan has requested we reimburse him an additional $1,900 for summer student wages, bringing the total expense to about $6,900. The 2025 Canada Summer Job Grant was only approved for $3,650. This check was applied for by Stan and sent to the previous PO box of the Society. The current board is working with Canada Summer Jobs to reissue this check so it can be deposited into the correct account. To highlight further, the Society incurred an additional $3,250 in wage expenses above and beyond the grant. The assumption would be made that Stan hired the summer student for 16 weeks while the grant was only approved for 8 weeks. A fact unknown to the current board until after the summer season due to our lack of access to the 2025 grant application. We received approval for a Canada Summer Job Grant for 2026, totaling $4,780, which would be 8 weeks at 35 hours per week. However, the board chose to decline this grant due to the current adversity. I think just, it would be, I think, a real challenge until we get more things put in place. It would be challenging for us to have an employee and working together with Stan under those shared circumstances. I would not want a student to be involved in those circumstances. So we just felt it really wasn't fair or reasonable for us to do that. And yeah, I do believe that Stan, in our conversation with him, he had applied for a grant for summer students. So there is resources coming from, the available government resources to cover that for this summer as well, I do believe, but I have not confirmed that. But all I want to say is, we had made that application preemptively just to ensure that the opportunity could be covered so that there wouldn't be a lapse in summer student. Okay. Yeah, I think, are there any, I can field just a couple questions about the report, otherwise I will ask for somebody to accept the report as presented. Yes, can you,
Carol Hall.
yeah, but I need you to speak into the mic. And the other trouble is when we were passing mics around last time, you get in front of the speakers and then it's terrible. So for that
Is
purpose,
this my spot?
that's your spot.
Right,
Okay.
thanks. I would just like you to go over once again about the summer student and what is that special circumstance that prevents a normal procedure going into this 2026 summer year.
Okay. If I understood you correct. Yeah. Yeah. The conditions specifically were in the requirements for the summer student grant require that we have proper job site training put in place and also safety and supervision from our board, as the employer. So it would require a working agreement between Stan's entity and us in order for us to effectively take care of the responsibility that the job grant puts out. So there were very specific about it. We didn't feel like in how things proceeded, we didn't feel that we could accurately, or I should say, we couldn't responsibly look after those matters and sign off on the grant application. So we felt that it would be unfair to the student. We also couldn't guarantee to the summer student grant board that we could fulfill the responsibilities they want us to with direct supervision. Like, they're really not set up for one entity to get the money and another entity to mentor and look after the student. It needs to be one person, one employer, all in-house. So, does that make sense?
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, please.
Okay, I'm really,
You need to come up and stand here.
do we want to get into that in depth, or do you just want to, is this going to come up later? More like, I'm confused, I'm not sure.
Okay, just hold it. You have a comment regarding this. If you can just come up here, state your comment, and then I can probably assist you on that.
And I'm wearing sunglasses because I have a problem with my eye and I can't do bright lights. I'm
Okay.
just really confused, I guess, with what I'm hearing coming from this report. I was the one that requested when we left last year.
Mhm.
I had to talk quite hard with Stan. I haven't had conversations. Like, I thought you guys were working with Stan, and now we're talking two separate again. So do you want to discuss that now or clarify, or is this something, do you want to pass your report and we can discuss further later? Because
Yes, that is going to come up in our chair's report. Yeah. Yeah, and I could just briefly mention, in case you weren't aware, there are now two societies, whereas at that time, like at last AGM, and for several months going into it, there was only ours, only the current society. So now that there are two societies, it does make for some complication, some challenges with collaboration, absolutely. And we will speak to that in my chair's report.
Is Stan here?
No. No.
Okay.
Okay. May we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented? Carol Hall makes a motion to approve the report. Do we have a seconder? Dave McCourt makes the motion to second it. I should say makes a motion, he seconds it. Okay. All in favor? Okay, any opposed? Report accepted. Thank you. Now we are just going to fulfill the obligations of the society to select an auditor for the next fiscal year's report. And I am requesting a motion for auditors. Verna, here.
I would like to make the motion that we hire two not paid but volunteered auditors to audit the books for the upcoming year, because there was such little activity in the financial report that I don't think that we need to pay hundreds of dollars to a paid function. So I make that motion that we have two volunteers that already have been voluntold. And they are both well-respected people. They have done work for the 4-H books before. They have done for the Clearview School District. They have done auditing for them. So I do like to make that motion.
Do you want to, can you name them? Is that
Yes,
possible?
of course I can. Donna Fox, a school teacher from the Clearview School District, and Anita Mappin has been on the board for the Alberta 4-H for many years.
Do you two accept that?
Yes.
Okay?
You're voluntold.
Yes. I just want to get it on the record that you accepted that, yeah. Okay, and do we have a seconder for that motion? Tracy Robinson seconds that motion. All in favor? None opposed? Motion carried. Good, press and hold it for a while. Okay, President's report. And I apologize that unless some of you got my President's report somewhere in your papers, but I think I forgot it on my printer. So I'll try and read it here through. And there's a few more things that I will bring about. So members, it is important we take a moment to clearly define what a society is and what it is intended to do. A society is established under provincial legislation to present a body of members and to operate with accountability, transparency, and proper governance. It exists to provide structure around decision-making and to ensure that funds, assets, and activities are managed in the interest of the membership and the broader community. A society is responsible for safeguarding assets that have been donated to its name, ensuring proper oversight of financial resources, making decisions through a defined governance process, and providing continuity beyond any one individual. A society is not simply a vehicle for issuing charitable receipts, or a tool for accessing grants or funding, or an administrative layer attached to a separate project. In the context of the work surrounding the elevator, there has been a distinction in how the role of society has been understood. One view has treated the society as a supporting function to what is described as the elevator project, where the project itself, being the preservation of the physical elevator and related assets, operates independently, and the society's role is primarily administrative. The position of the current board is this way. The board's position is that where assets, funds, and efforts have been contributed to in the name of the society, those elements fall under the care, custody, and control of the society itself, and therefore must be governed accordingly. This is also the commonly understood position of the general public in our community, whether in this organization or not. And this distinction is important because without that structure, accountability is unclear, ownership remains uncertain, and the ability to operate transparently and sustainably is compromised. Our responsibility is to ensure that the society operates as it was intended to operate on behalf of its members, with proper governance and with clear stewardship of what has been entrusted to it. I would also assert that the acting head of any organization is ultimately responsible and accountable for how things go. And if they are not going well, one must take the actions required to restore the function of the entity. Therefore, how it goes or doesn't go, unfortunately, rests with the president or the head of the company, in this case, with the president, and the willingness to self-reflect is certainly a valuable asset. So I want to also just provide clarity on several operational challenges that have affected the society's ability to function effectively over the past year. The society does not currently have a clearly documented care, custody, and control of the elevator property or a confirmed formal agreement in place. We have not been given access to the new building since the last AGM. While we did meet there for 2 board meetings, we were stopped by the owner of the elevator complex. Further requests were denied. This directly impacts our ability to access and use grant and AGLC funding due to the inability to negotiate lease or use agreements, in particular between Alberta Prairie Railway and the owner of the elevator complex. This began shortly after the last AGM when the locks were changed, and the only point of order is that there was not a board decision. Now, the justification was that there were many keys out and about and it needed to be done, but it was not done with a board authority. And that has just created complications to the operation of the board, but not in so much. I guess I, as the president, took a softer approach, thinking that cooler heads could prevail inside of that all. And we just discovered that it was extremely challenging. Next to impossible, and that I guess is the part of me stepping into something that I did not know the history of. One of the challenges that also arose fairly early on, I should say, we were willing to meet. We met at the Board of Trade using their building numerous times. Well, actually, all but 2, and it worked. We made it work. It was another thing that arose fairly shortly too was the fact that as a new society, or not a new society, as a new board, we needed to be able to have access to all of the companies or all of the vendors. We had all the suppliers, and AGLC, CRA, Canada Jobs Grant, Alberta, the Governance Society, Alberta Charities, community grants, there we go.
Grant status.
Yes, and so in that correspondence, of course, we went out with the new board. You get to update the director's report, and you got to send those to everywhere, and it was challenging to get all of those things done. The mail also, most of the mail was still going into the original box, so we had set up a new box, and without, we didn't have a property title, so we just paid the $200 to have a box number in the hope that something could get worked out and that could be resolved. Anyway, so there were complications with that, and there were numerous points where we had expected mail, did not see mail, did not get any correspondence back from us. And the only one point is there was an outstanding return with CRA Charities, and there was a notice sent in about July of 2025 that once we gained access to it, we could see what the mail said. But anyway, the only correspondence that we got with that was in February, when a registered letter had been received and then opened and forwarded to our mailbox. So those complications just simply left challenges, and very, it was just questionable to carry on doing business effectively when we don't know if we got mail. So we spent the better part of the last July onward getting those things resolved, which was challenging. Also, there were complications with the charitable receipts, and I think this was something that was brought up fairly. It was quite a contested item at the last AGM, and which was one of the reasons why we went as a board, we chose to use RWA again to prepare the 2025 financials, because of the risk involved with submitting this report without having access to the charitable receipts. So we proceeded to have them prepare the report and looking at the financials, do the best we can. But there's been no way, and there's been multiple requests for those. And as we all remember, there were issues, arbitrary issues, if I may say. The records needed to be returned to the office, and there was a laptop, and I'll just also just a brief report on the laptop. Technological complications, the thing wound up being wiped, and we had to get it recovered, but there fortunately wasn't that much material lost on it that we couldn't get recreated through the financial reports. But there remains those other records. We do not know, and we have not been able to locate the records from the previous years that are claimed to be missing. So that we do not have much to really report on. The other challenge that we really have with the property, and as it relates to AGLC funding, once we got access with them and we got all of our reports caught up with them, in pursuing, they want to see a lease agreement and or a use agreement of some sort. And that is just not really possible. Also, out of respect for Alberta Prairie, they only want to deal with one entity, and that's Mr. Gillespie's request is work your stuff out, get it into one, and then he will work with them. So that is something just further on in our conversation. I want to also bring that matter up, is that we could fight tooth and nail to try and achieve that, but I don't believe that it will ever be possible for, just given the history, for this society to really do this. So if we continue to do that, it's just simply going to hold up that process. Thereby, it's AGLC fundings, and inside of, I should say, we also had an audit. A report was given, a request to audit us for AGLC operation and funds. So that was quite helpful inside of going through the process and getting clarity on everything. One point that I would make mention of is in going back and pulling their original information, the only document they had was a promissory note, essentially, from Alberta Prairie Steam Tours, Alberta Prairie Railway Excursion, the name, whatever the entity was, I can't just remember what it is now, but the railway, I will use it in that term. It was a note that they were anticipating a working agreement. It was going to be coming, and that was signed in 2008. That's the last that AGLC had a note for their lease agreement. And they said, well, I guess it was just never looked at. But they said, well, that's insufficient. In order to move forward, there needs to be something else. In the meantime, they have said very clearly, they said, you cannot spend these funds on property that is not in your care, custody, and control. And in another part of their clause, they specifically prohibit AGLC funds from being used on anything that is privately owned. So that is a matter with which we must get resolved before any AGLC funds can be used. So even if, no matter what, even with Stan's New Society, which I should just speak to that for a moment, in about September, Stan and a group, and I believe we have some of their board members here, they created a new society called the Stettler Grain Elevator Museum Society. Is that right? Okay, but it's the Grain Elevator Museum Society anyway, and so inside of their interest to gain AGLC funds, I was exploring with AGLC to say, hey, what can we do to work together? And they said, well, they only allow one project for one entity. And so we would have to, in order for their entity to have AGLC funding for it, we would have to remove our project, in which case we have to do something with our funds, which they told me would have to be given to another approved project, which presents another challenge because they will not let us give it to the elevator project until the conditions for AGLC are required. It doesn't matter which society does it. So those are the complications that we are up against, and it requires it really requires two friendly societies, or just one friendly society. Let me get back to my notes. One of the incidences I think that brought about a lot of Stan was testing me as the new president to see if he could trust me. And one of those things which he had said he was just really disappointed in, but he had made a request of Brandy and myself at that time. She was the treasurer, I was the president. He wanted us to provide him a signed check for the summer student as it was getting to be her last day. And I said, well, proper procedure, I cannot give you a signed check. You can give me the total that you need on it, and we will write it out for you. I will deliver it to her. And he did not appreciate that. And based on those conditions is when he said we could no longer meet in the elevator complex or in that new building there for our board meetings. And that's what ended the two meetings we had there. But I would just say as a member, financial assigning officer of this organization, of this society, I was rather shocked that was expected, and I lost faith in trying to negotiate. There is another, I think the old long-standing issues are two, when it comes down to a matter came up with insurance. We got another problem with insurance, which Alberta Prairie requires every known entity to have liability insurance. But now the matter comes down to insuring the building for the loss of its contents or its loss itself. The challenge with that is the claim can only be put in, proof of ownership has to be proven in order for a claim to be submitted. We can all pay premiums on it, but there's going to have to be proof of ownership. And so that is a matter that it's very challenging to try and determine how can we prove proof of ownership. when the new building was permitted and the funds were donated to and the labor was provided for, and all the efforts were essentially all the efforts around that new building were done in the name of the society. It could be assumed, but that is a matter that would have to be settled in civil court. We need a judge to determine that. And legal, trying to do litigation, which we did seek some legal advice because of the conundrum with all this. It is just simply going to be a lot of time, energy, and it'll just make worse enemies in this community. And yeah, it'll consume resources, and the likelihood of accomplishing anything meaningful is very little. Okay. Yeah, and as I read in the Treasury report, some of the issues we had been looking most of the, since about November for the completion of the summer student grant. But again, we couldn't talk to them because of our, they wouldn't speak to us until the proper paperwork had gotten through them, and they're just tremendously slow getting the change of directors updated. By the time we could finally speak with them, it was February. And they confirmed that a check had been issued in around December, but we haven't seen it. So it also was confirmed that it was sent to the old mailbox. And so I would assume the same thing happened to the order of checks for the casino account. Again, on the recommendation, we had run out of checks. And so we had to go to the branch finally and get one. But inside of the order of check, we had changed the address to our new address, but the change of, they still sent those checks to the old address and they haven't been recovered. And all of my attempts, I would just say, after that meeting around the signed check, I could no longer reach Stan by email, phone, text. I had to just be with him in person. So that has been one of the challenges that we've been up against. Yes, Lyle?
Can you find out if those checks have been cashed?
We're in process of getting that resolved. But one of the things I guess I do have some faith that they are in the name of the Stettler P&H Elevator Preservation Society. I mean, I don't have a lot of faith that our bank looks at checks anymore, but so far we haven't been able to find that detail out. Okay, another small matter. Just interestingly, our insurance policy, which was renewed on the 24th of March, had suddenly had a request to be moved to a different broker. And our broker called us and said, like, why are you changing brokers? It's a Wawanesa policy, I believe. I said, well, we're not. And I mean, to do that, you need a board decision. So I said, hang on, you can't, our insurance policy, our insurance broker cannot do something like that, or any broker cannot do that for a society without a proper board process. So we had to we never did find out where or how or why that happened, but it was just a reminder, proper or due process on a board is highly necessary to avoid upset, to maintain the integrity of an operation. Another item is we had, the Stettler P&H Elevator Preservation Society has sponsored an ad with the Central Alberta Museum Network. And we have it there. We also have it with, to promote the elevator structure, directing people to there. And for some reason, it has recently been changed to the Stettler Grain Elevator Museum Society, of which it gets to the same place. It's just, it leaves me with a feeling of like, we cannot make any judgments, but these are just little things that make us go, we must follow process. So, and we also realize there's many vendors and companies that we deal with that won't allow that. So as a matter of, we were also paying the utilities on that facility in good faith, that the payment of utilities, we paid for that all of, up until, I think I read in the secretary's report, or the treasurer's report, up until about September. We were paying for the utilities, and then we, or reimbursing us. Stan primarily, because those invoices were going to him, then he was paying for them and then bringing them to the board, which he did that twice, and then we made a motion to approve those utilities. We did not want to cause a blockade to operation. So we did that, but again, it doesn't follow proper due process. We could have easily just taken that and said, hey, just forward them to us, we will get that taken care of. So, there was one or two of them that are in the name of the society that we were able to change the address and get that taken care of, but they have since been changed back. So I mean, there are many companies that don't require due process. So it's really easy for these things to happen. But yeah, so collectively, all of these little things really affect the ability to operate or to protect assets or to do anything, which is why when you have companies like AGLC and community grants, when they are giving money to something, they want to see that it is being, that due process is being followed. And it is because of the risk of those things that they really do not want this to go about. But that being said, the history book, we were able to get that complete, and we are no longer, that grant is no longer against our society, so we are free and clear of that and we can move forward. Community grants does not require for property to be privately held, but they do require for it to be in the proper care, custody, and control through proper use agreements. So we're back to that again. So yeah, in conclusion, this is one of the reasons that our government had set up the Societies Act, was to have a structure whereby there can be a fiduciary responsibility of a governing body that answers to the community and is responsible for what goes on. So this is why those things are put in place. Are there? I'll just ask from the other board. Are there any other particular points that I should mention?
You're doing a great job.
Okay. So yeah, all in all, my conclusion is that this is going to. I mean, even inside of these, it can really affect our emotions. But we've just got to try and let go of that and look for it, because heightened emotions don't provide a clear path for how to move forward. But that being said, continuing to fight is an absolute drain on everyone's resources, including getting the elevator restored. And so this is why there's another, in Clint's report, he's going to present some options whereby, we want to see how we can move forward. I have had a couple of meetings, actually, Clint, Norm, and I had a couple of meetings with Dave. I think Dave has been a great representative of your group, and laid out some pretty clear things that need to happen in order for that thing to, that elevator complex to be restored.
Dave who?
Dave Goodwin, sorry. Yeah, that is.
Is Dave Goodwin on Stan's board? Is that, we have board members here, can they identify themselves?
Okay.
Do we have board members from the other board?
Yeah, so I believe the board members, and you can clarify.
My board member.
Yeah.
James Hall.
James Hall,
Okay.
Carol, I don't know, Carol, are you a board member? Okay. And Frank Hackler, I believe you are too.
Right.
And Ken Way is, I believe Jack Schultz also is,
Right, Dave Goodwin.
and Dave Goodwin, and then obviously Stan. So that, I think that is, it's just a small board, but yes, that is, and they incorporated in about September, I think, September, October. Doesn't really matter so much, but yeah, they have been organizing themselves, so. Do you have something more to speak?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Is now the time, like, and if you need to, just grab the mic from me, because
well,
I'm a little upset.
just hold a moment. Okay, I can understand you're upset, and I do want you to be responsible for the things you say.
I will be.
Okay, and now we also request that you try and limit it. I know it's gonna be hard to get it out,
It is.
but just cool it, take some deep breaths, I know you're capable. Don't, just try and keep it respectful.
I guess for the other board,
But nice people.
hold it like,
Speak
For-
right into it.
for the other board, how would I have known? Like, why didn't I know about your meetings? I'm disappointed Stan isn't here. I put a lot of faith in Stan. I stayed neutral. I want to start, I'm limited to time, so I will speak quick. I only know one board member here really well, and that's Verna Rock, and I owe you an apology. I told you, and I told anybody who was at those last two meetings last year, I would stay neutral. And I did. I told Stan dreams I had of what could be done with that elevator once this all got straightened out. I thought it was gonna happen. I had more than that. I only shared with Stan, and this is a big one. You're all gonna hear it now. I had some people that were willing to invest with me and buy the Carey homestead. That's that acreage that has been for sale across from the seed grain elevator. I wanted to tie that in with this society. Only Stan knew that until what you're hearing from me now. And I want you to take this back to him. I told him I would stay neutral too, and I stayed to my word. He has hurt me worse after he cried on my shoulder. And with that, I'm just gonna leave because I feel like he's taken over. It's like, okay. You just tell him I feel like he threw me to the gas chambers because that's the operation he's running.
Thank you for,
he destroyed a friendship.
thank you for keeping it professional. And one of the things I would state too is there may be opportunities in the future for that dream to be fulfilled. And,
There's not.
okay,
I had the realtor stay in touch with me. There's a deal pending on it right now. It
Yeah.
will never be fulfilled. Thanks to Mr. Eichhorn.
thank you. So anyway, these are, understandably, these are the challenges that are just confounding. We would so much like to find a way to work through them, and I do confess that they're, the lady's name is Kathy Reardon. Yes, Kathy Reardon. I have had moments feeling the same way she does. Unfortunately, they're getting more frequent. So in going forward, I think we really need to look at, there's got to be a way in which we can effectively, back off, sit this out, whatever needs to happen to allow progress. But I am clear that continuing to fight at the level we're fighting, it is not, and I say that, there's just not a better term coming up for it, but like, or I should just say the unworkability in negotiation is just, causing a challenge. So there is some solution that we have that Clint is gonna present shortly, that we feel may be a way to move forward. And to, yeah, there's an old adage, what we resist persists. So if we want the issue to persist, we can just keep on resisting it. Anyway, so I think that that pretty much concludes my report. That being said, we're coming to you with some other options, and the reason we're coming to you with it is we felt as a board, and I also speak really passionately for Jen. Jen has a lot of heart for this work, as everybody does, but I'm going to speak for her because she's not here. And she would really like to see something, work together for the long-term ability. You've got to remember, we are looking for this property to last beyond any of us being here. We want to pass it on to the next generations when we're all 6 feet under. And so what is it going to take to have something endure that kind of sustainability? And this whatever this is probably not productive or effective. Anyway, may I have go ahead, Norm.
Could I just whisper in your ear for a second?
Yep. Okay, yeah, I think to just summarize it is I would just say it this way. We as a board have been operating essentially like with our hands behind our back. Because we were committed to following due process and passing things, properly in board meetings. And it has not been, history tells us that the owner of the elevator complex did not tend to operate that way. And as he continues to operate that way, it just makes it really challenging for those who are going to follow due process working with those who don't. And so it is confounding. But we've been doing the best we can. There was another point that that fast it's gone. It'll probably return. Okay, then may I request, I should say, yes, this is the point. I said at the last AGM that we would produce an update, a news update, or have some regular form of communication. And I admit we did not do that. It proved far more challenging than we anticipated. As well, like, we would really like to be able to do that by email. So I know that a lot of you may not enjoy the email world, but it would make it so much easier. But most of our emails didn't go through. So we tried a few things, but so I acknowledge that, and I just want to honor that most of you haven't been aware of what's been going on or the struggles that we have been going through. I also did not want to make much of a news process of some of the struggles that we were having, because I just didn't feel that they were valuable news to the community. That was probably my opinion, but I did not want to incite any more upset. We tried to work through things peacefully, and it was challenging. Okay, then I would request a motion to accept my report as presented.
Dave McCourt, I move to approve.
Dave moves to approve the report, and we have a seconder. Lyle Smith seconds the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Report carried. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to the options moving forward as presented by Clint.
Evening, everybody. I'm Clint Nealon, board member. Speaking on options, I guess, as to some of the stuff that Brad had gone over. He said we met with Dave, and the initial proposal in the sheets you got was to be presented to the other board. I'm not sure if it was or not in any detail at all, but this is what we proposed to Dave, and he said on Wednesday you guys were gonna have a meeting and he was gonna propose that, some of them conditions, but if not, you'll have a copy of kind of what we proposed. Trying to move forward with avoiding getting stuck in a quagmire and nothing happening for anybody or any building preservation of any kind. So the initial proposal contingent on the ownership of the elevator transferring to the Museum Society, the Grain Elevator Museum Society. The big thing about ownership here is that we feel and we don't understand what might happen with ownership at any time. That might change tomorrow, it might change 2 years from now or something like that. That's why with grants and AGLC, that's why I see they want to have these leases in place, ownership defined in, these 100-year leases and stuff. They know that public money is going to be guaranteed in a place, preserving it for years to come, and not tomorrow something crazy happens and that 1 in a million chance it sells, burns, something crazy like that. So that's why we feel the ownership, it's nothing to do with any personal feelings of anything like that. It's just, it puts that ownership in a society of some kind, or with the county or the town was another proposal, something like that. So an entity that is owned by everybody, basically. So that was proposed. Contingent on that, the initial one was a mutual usage and responsibility agreement for new buildings and artifacts. That would be a subcommittee of both boards, so that both boards would have access and usage of the new building for meetings, record storage, that type of thing, get-togethers, whatever. And then that would be 3 members forming a subcommittee from both societies, so that it can be, all the artifacts that are there can be properly cataloged, inventoried, and the rental of the new building and everything can be covered by this subcommittee. Okay. PNH Elevator Preservation Society would move focus and efforts to Heritage Park projects or other future preservation projects. And PNH, or it would be the Grain Elevator, getting their name wrong here, Grain Elevator Museum Society, would take on the operation preservation of the elevator and auxiliary buildings, except for the new building, which would remain in the dual care agreement. So that would, there's no harm in having 2 societies or 10 societies. If they're all charitable, you get that many more casinos and that many more grants and that sort of thing. If they can work together, great. So if, for Stan's sake in this case, he wants the elevator to be preserved, he has a huge personal attachment to that. This would kind of separate the 2 entities in the best way possible, where the PNH Elevator Preservation Society could even change their name a bit and go focus on the Stettler Historical Preservation Society or something of that sort. And we've got lots of other projects. One of them Kathy spoke to there, that is something I might as well mention now, is that a few weeks ago I actually went and looked at that property too, with the exact same thing, and I brought it to a whole bunch of members right away, saying that would be a huge project for this society to go and focus on, allowing the other society to focus on the preservation of the elevator. Is that farm site? There is an offer on the place right now. I can't get any more details on that. We're trying at the moment to put together another offer. And we had somebody step up today that's willing to basically sign a letter of guarantee on purchasing that, which would put it into a cash type of offer. So if that comes through, maybe we can end up with that project, and that would be a huge, wonderful project to move forward with the PNH Elevator Preservation Society's members, and still working together in preserving the elevator. What this does is it gets two mutual sides agreeing, working together, and it can get these leases in place. The ownership thing is the big one to get past the AAGLC recommendations and the grant committees being the private ownership thing. This way it would be in the ownership of the Elevator Museum Society. And then it kind of cures all of them issues at the same time. There's no problems with grants or AGLC. Yep.
AGLC rules and policy, was that somewhere in writing? That
Yes.
Can be shared?
Yep.
It's on their website.
All right.
Yeah, you bet. This proposal, if turned down, I guess you've got the other three options here. The one is you go and change the locks and you get into a legal battle of ownership. And it's, speaking with with lawyers, this will likely result in years of quagmire and nothing getting done. It's just a waste of people's time and effort, so. Option 2 would be to sign over ownership of all buildings, artifacts to the Elevator Museum Society, as well as private funds that were received in the past. And in the past for the Elevator Preservation Museum, so that would be the ones that were privately given prior to, that in our mind are promised to the actual preservation of the elevator. They wouldn't come with the society, but the AGLC monies would come with this society to be used on another project. So. And then the society would move all of its efforts and focus into another preservation in the community somewhere. So. Option 3 is you sign over everything, building artifacts and finances, to the Grain Elevator Museum Society, and you cease operations of the P&H Elevator Preservation Society completely. Option 3. So. I'm not sure if everybody's had time to kind of read over them and mull them over. We have chatted about those things. It's kind of contingent on the first proposal. If it was accepted by the other society and Stan, and that was acceptable, then there's some grounds that could be worked out there. And if that gets turned down, then one of these other options at that time, maybe a special meeting will have to be called to actually vote on what direction this society would want to move in, moving forward. So.
Would it make a difference if we would still, because this is waiting for a response from that, which we
Yeah.
comply with.
You want to take a bit of a vote?
I think personally that we can open up for about 10 minutes of deliberation, and then why don't we come to a vote on these three options and what to do if this fails.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Sure. So it's been proposed that while in waiting for the decision from the other society and ownership on the initial one, we're going to open up the floor for a few minutes to discuss, and then we'll actually have a vote on the three options at the bottom if is turned down. Then that will be decided prior to. So. Not a binding vote? Yeah. A vote of interest, so, yeah, yeah.
Okay, why don't, why don't we take 10 minutes and can one of you set the timer for 10 minutes and give me a 7-minute warning? And then, so what I would do now is open it up if people want to just come up and share or express. Again, 2 minutes apiece. And we'll just take a little time to sort through this, and then I will reiterate again, what we are looking for is this top proposal to be accepted by the Grain Elevator Museum Society, and if that doesn't go through, then we would be looking for an indication of support of these other three options so that we can get an idea of what the membership would like to see happen in the future, should this proposal not go through. And you gotta use your own discernment on whether the proposal is likely to go through or not. Yes,
Point of clarification, if you don't mind.
can you come up and speak to that then?
Point of order.
Okay, yeah, so just come up and speak.
Okay, you guys have had a preliminary discussion with Mr. Goodwin, as you indicated. Has a written proposal been made, or was it a verbal chit chat? Okay. And what is our purpose for the next section of this meeting? I want that restated, please.
When you say the next section of the meeting, okay.
Is it a discussion or a motion, or is it a general discussion?
This would not be a discussion on a motion. This is just general discussion. And then these three options we listed, we are looking for your indication of support of where you would like to direct us as your board to pursue. Would we come back to a special meeting? We could call a special meeting then to make this, I mean, there's heavy consequences with any of these.
And it would require more direction from the general membership.
Sorry, any situation of the society
Mhm.
or anything like that, where it's a special meeting, special resolution, and stuff like that.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Okay, right, so if there's, what he just clarified is that, for you again, following due process in a society is if we are going to make that much of a major shift with the original intent of this society, we would need to have a special meeting and a special resolution with 75% of the membership support in order to move in that direction. So, to clarify it again, we've got a verbal proposal to the other board. Then, depending on where that goes, what we are then looking for is for an indication of your support of what direction we should go to. Then, if that comes about, however this settles, and we will have some by when, some dates of like by when, I think we need to move along with this very quickly, because what's at stake is that the elevator needs to be preserved. Then we are going to call a special meeting with which we can have that. So, to be clear, we want to have just a few more minutes of deliberation, and then we will seek for this indication. But this is not going to be a legally binding vote whereby this is what happens. We are going to then have an indication of where we work toward to then call a special meeting and have that fulfilled. Is that clear? Okay. Any more comments, or anybody want to speak to this? Clint.
Just the other board members from the other society, is this something that you guys don't have to hold you to it or anything, but accept as a written proposal? Would you like to see the initial proposal in writing from this society to your society? Before, I think regardless, the other society accepts the initial, and this will have to call a general or a special meeting anyways, because at that time then there would be a major shift in focus for this society. But if that seems reasonable, would you like to see it in a?
I will just say that none of us are owners of the elevator.
No.
Stan is the only owner of the elevator.
Yeah.
And I think, just to say, I think you're gonna have a very hard time convincing Stan to let go of that ownership.
Well, and that's where the problem that we're trying to figure out a way around the AGLC things, because now, because of the controversies that have happened, we're under a major red flag for AGLC. Both societies will be, and with grants. So now we're cutting each other's throat kind of thing. If we can't get that sorted out somehow, so as a request, maybe the best sweet talking you got to figure out how we can get it secured in a society or the county or the town or something, just so that part of it is known for the next 100 years. Then we can get a 100-year lease on that place and it's all done and over with and we can carry on. So, but we can propose this in writing, taking that back to the next meeting or whatever, if you'd like to see
I don't
that.
want to speak for, I don't want to speak for Stan.
No,
And,
no,
and just so everybody else knows, Stan would have liked to come here tonight, but he felt he would have been a lightning rod. And the whole meeting would be consumed with Stan.
yeah, we're trying to get past the,
He was trying to get it a lot too.
yeah,
So otherwise he would have come.
that's kind of why we met with,
He didn't get to, whatever, Kathy didn't get to hear that, because that's why he didn't come tonight.
yeah,
So,
yeah. You betcha, and that's why kind of we met with Dave,
yeah.
was, yeah, we could go meet with Stan, but everybody knows that Stan's locked in there pretty hard. So I figured we'd meet with Dave and we had a really good discussion about this type of thing and maybe some different points that weren't seen before, so. But if you'd like to, or put it onto the, and if you'd like, send us a request to have this kind of written up and we can, between the two societies, write up an agreement, but
I'm sure
we'll
we'll
see.
discuss it.
Yep.
And we'll be in touch.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thanks, James.
Okay.
Okay, where are we at for time, Joey?
What's the 7 minutes?
Okay,
Everybody stand up and stretch.
yeah,
So we're taking a 10-minute break.
Okay.
okay, yeah. Cookies and water, yeah. Okay, let's get back to our seats. Lyle, is there anyone else back there? Okay. Then I think we're gonna proceed with this. And once again, this isn't a binding vote. This is we're looking for a indication of your approval to move forward. Anything binding, such as changing the structure or the direction of the society, will be done through a special meeting that we call. And once again, same as for an AGM, you're gonna be getting notified by mail. I wish we could do it all by email, but we'll do it by mail and follow the due process as laid out in the Society Act. Okay. So I think what we are going to do, just want you again, is everyone clear on option 1, option 2, and option 3? Any questions about what they are?
Do them again.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, so the very top option, which is the proposed, the proposal that we will bring to them in writing, is for a mutual usage and responsibility agreement for the new building and artifacts, having equal representation on the subcommittee for the booking and the inventorying and the usage of the artifacts. This would be contingent on the elevator ownership being transferred into a society, any society. It would look like the society, the current P&H Elevator Preservation Society would move focus and efforts to other preservation projects and future projects and something quite likely around the Heritage Park. Homestead Park, thank you. Okay, the Stettler Grain Elevator Museum Society would take on the operation and preservation of the elevator and the auxiliary buildings, except for the new building, which would remain in dual care agreement. That is preferred option in our opinion. Pending that does not go through. So just to clarify, that is what we are currently working toward. In the event that does not go through, What we are looking for now is, which direction should we begin pursuing? Option 1 is to pursue legal ownership challenge, which would involve changing the locks and dealing with the result of that. And when I say changing the locks, one of the things I want to be really clear on, this is no intention for us to change the locks and exclude anyone. We are simply going, what we mean by this is we are gaining access. We're just basically stating, hey, we belong here too. We want to use it together. We turn around and give them access as well.
Brad, as we have said.
Yes.
Give Stan a key.
Yeah, we would change the locks and give them the key. This would be a move of focus and finance. We would move focus and finances from the elevator preservation to another preservation project. This would likely get mired down in legal consequences for years. Option 2 is we would sign over ownership of all buildings and artifacts to the Elevator Museum Society, as well as private funds received in the past for the elevator preservation to the Elevator Museum Society. We would take remaining funds and transfer all P&H Elevator Preservation Society's focus and efforts to other preservation projects in the community. Option 3, we sign over everything, buildings, artifacts, and finances to the Elevator Museum Society and cease operations as the P&H Elevator Preservation Society. We all clear? Okay. What I'm going to do is start with, is there any questions? Okay. What we are going to do here is have option 1, option 2, and option 3. And what we are going to do now is we're going to ask for your vote of support for these 3 options. And the lowest one we are going to eliminate and re-vote on the remaining 2. Are we clear?
What about the top part, Brad?
Okay, just to clarify again, the top part, that is what we are currently pursuing. That we feel is the mandate that was given to us at the last AGM, was to pursue a peaceful way to work together. Considering what is at stake with the ownership as stated in the policies with AGLC and community grants, and the complications around that, those are the complications involved, but that is what we are actively pursuing. It does not, I mean, you already gave us that mandate. We're not voting on that. We are trying to work that out, but it comes with an expiry date. I don't know what that date is, but it is going to be, we're going to get that turned out, but there's going to be a point in time at which, like, okay, we move on. Yes?
Just out loud, I don't believe you have all the options on the table. So no offense to Clint, but there are other permutations, and I would like to propose number 4. It's not a motion, but number 4.
Do you want to come speak to it?
Okay, just really quickly.
Anybody
will not hear me?
Well, no, yeah, I still want you to come up and use this, and you can speak to it, and we will still choose to accept it or not.
Yeah, no.
Okay, really simply, there's an option 4 here that we're not considering and needs to be on the list. And that is simply that the society can be wound down as per the rules under CRA for registered charities. And there's also some subsidiary rules with the AGLC for the casino licensees. But the option 4 would be simply to wind down the society and dispose of or disperse the assets to other registered charities that are not associated with the P&H elevator. We are not required to hand over anything to a new society that Stan has pushed forward, we do have the option to disperse the money. It could go to something like the Stettler Museum or Big Valley, the Rowley Elevator Project. There are other options. I'm not saying that's the preferred option. I'm just saying there is the option, and this society has to keep everything on the table. Thank you.
Okay, just give us a couple moments and we as a board will just deliberate on this for a moment.
Well, I think it's essentially the same as option 3, except the fact that you're not suicide. Or other societies would include exactly because these are.
That's kind of where I stand. I got a bad cough, and like it's coughing, and
Okay, so thank you, and the board feels that we can include option 4. So just to be clear, it is essentially the same as option 3. Option 3 is going to be basically winding down the board and passing everything over to the Stettler Grain Elevator Museum Society. Option 4 is winding down and giving it over to some other entity, other charity. Are we clear? Okay.
Just to be clear though, Brad, I don't think it's up to us to decide what options are on the table. I think it's up to us to decide.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the point of the meeting.
Yes. So,
No, for sure. But
yeah. Yeah. So what we're gonna move along now to stick with the agenda. Okay, what I'm looking for again, what we're going to do in this case is we're gonna vote.
Are we going to let the membership have a say? They can discuss, can they not?
Yeah, they can. So one of my questions would be, is any of you want a little time to discuss that option? Or can we move along? Stick your flag up if you'd like more time to discuss an option.
Are we going to do a discussion of each option, Brad, or are we going to have a discussion in general and then proceed to knocking off?
The discussion already happened, and I would just say, as presented before you, there is not really any more discussion, but like, again, because what we're looking for here is to get a direction from the membership of where do you want us to pursue? There's going to be further, or did I miss the point? Okay. Go ahead, Joey.
I'll start it off. So discussion would be, I think this is what Brad's looking for. As far as I'm concerned, option number 1 is ridiculous because I've said it at the board table before, changing the locks on a building that sits on dirt that we don't own isn't wise. There's some discussion, so whoever's next.
How many more minutes do we want to allow for this discussion?
anybody's had.
Well, if nobody's gonna talk, then it doesn't matter, but everybody should
Yeah.
get a chance if they want.
Yeah. Okay, you wanna come to, this is probably your last opportunity to
Yes.
speak to the.
It's not to the options, it's what we all know. We can't limit the discussion on something this much unless everybody has said, okay, let's move forward.
Mr. Chair.
No, I understand.
we-
So,
we-
Mr.
we
Chair,
can
that's
ask-
my
We
rule.
can ask the general membership in attendance at this meeting if they believe you've had enough time to talk. And if this group says, yes, you have, then yes, you've had enough time to talk.
And if you will wait for just a minute,
If
you
you
will
want to
understand.
argue, that's just fine, but
No.
some of us want to go home at some point.
Okay, thank you, Norm. Norm has pointed out that it's unfortunate that we need to limit the discussion because everybody, needs to go home. I understand that. I also know that we're talking here about making significant changes to an organization that's been in existence for 21 years, has had hundreds of members involved, hundreds of thousands of dollars donated to the society, and we're basically not considering anything other than the owner of the wooden structures known as the P&H elevator has decided that he is going to force this society to either capitulate and just hand him everything because he paid $1 way back when, and now he feels that the 21 years of hard work, the hundreds of thousands of dollars somehow belong to him or to be used at his discretion. I don't think there's anybody in this room that has any desire to see that elevator not be there. There's a lot of people that have worked really hard, like I said, for over 20 years to keep it there. The society has raised over $300,000 to be put in, that was already put in, I should clarify, into the existing structure. That's why it's still there and hasn't fallen down yet. Unfortunately, there was a couple things that got forgotten in the discussion earlier. I'm sorry, Brad, I'm not calling anybody a liar, but Stan purchased the buildings for $1. Everybody knows that. We congratulate him for starting it. But then he forgot to tell everybody for the next part of the 20 years that he still owned the building, and he allowed everybody to go along thinking that they were supporting the society.
Time's up.
Now,
I think your point.
no, what I'm saying, and just to close out for Norm, because unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have already passed that aren't here to defend this, and there's a lot of people here that don't feel that they can speak up because of some judgmental. So if you limit me on this, I will say that you are cutting off a debate that needs to happen.
Okay, but we did settle with these agreements to begin with, so I reserve the right to do that. So please take your seat. Yes.
When I was at university, I used to wrestle in the squared circle. So it's, I guess that's what we're doing tonight, isn't it? Is wrestling. We're trying to wrestle with what we are supposed to do. We are people who accomplish. We are people who volunteer. We are people who want to build. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, we are on one side, we have two sides to this issue. We seem to even have some recognition within the new society that Stan's a hard guy to deal with. Thank you, Dale, for telling us the history of the elevator. But what we need to do is figure out how to move forward, what to do next. I've never worked with an organization like these people who worked so hard to follow the rules, and some of the rules that weren't followed by previous presidents. This president has worked tirelessly, demanding of some of us that we work tirelessly as well to solve the problems, to correct the mistakes that were made, to fill out the forms that weren't filled out, that perhaps perhaps if they had been filled out, might have indicated at some point that there was an ownership issue with the AGLC funds and with the community grant funds. Brad and I worked very, very hard with the community grant people to get them to reduce the requirements to get the historical book society, the historic book grant forgiven. And they just absolutely bent over backwards. Most of the projects are done in about 1.5 to 2 years. The Stettler history book was over 5 years and still isn't done. So they forgave the grant when they probably really maybe shouldn't have. But at any rate, so what whether we've got 4 options or there's probably 40 options if we want to spend enough time here. But we've got 4 options, and all this group is doing is looking for some indication from you folks about what you think we should do next. Do we keep fighting, hire a lawyer, give in, move to another project? What do we do next? That's what I think we're looking for.
Okay. Are we clear? Okay, so we're going to go through this vote. We're going to do this by process of elimination. We're going to be voting 3 times, as in, hang on. We're going to go through this round. We're going to eliminate the bottom option, vote on the remaining 3, eliminate the bottom option, vote on the remaining 2, and away we go. So there'll be 3 rounds of voting per se. Okay, got your orange cards? And we are looking for support for option 1. May I have one of you just stand up and count? Okay.
Peter's a teacher.
Okay.
By his numbers.
Support for option 1. That was clear. Support for option 2.
What was option 2 again, Brad? So
Okay.
I think you need to, yeah.
Okay, option 1, well, sorry, the option 2 is to sign over the ownership of all buildings and artifacts, as well as private funds received in the past for the preservation of the elevator, then take remaining funds and transfer the Preservation Society's focus and all other efforts to the other preservation projects. That's option 2. Okay. Is that all in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and
Hold them up higher.
okay, hold them up higher. We want to make sure we get this correctly.
I get 12. 12. You got
Yeah.
12.
Am I allowed to vote?
Yes. Yes, you are.
Well, maybe just for the purposes of being responsible, I won't.
Does everybody have a copy of the options?
Oh.
Because I would like to have it in front of me.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
have a staff here, if anybody
Okay.
doesn't have one.
Come up at the front here, Mrs. Erickson. Okay. Now, option 3, and option 3 is essentially wind down the society and commit everything over to the Stettler Green Elevator Museum. Option 3. And I call that a 0. Okay, option 4, which is wind down the Stettler P&H Elevator Preservation Society and donate all the proceeds to other projects and charities in the community. Okay, let's just count again. Hang on, up with your cards again. I got 15.
15, that's what I got.
Did I say 14?
Did-
Why didn't you put mine out? Oh, so he was counting.
Okay, so then we have eliminated option 1 and option 3. And we're left with option 2 and option 4. Okay, we're going to go to a vote again. Remember, we're getting an indication of your support, not what is absolutely going to happen. Option 2.
Can I ask a question quick? Larry Strang, what's
Yeah.
the difference between these two options?
Okay, let me speak to it. Okay, option 2, to be clear, we are backing off of the elevator complex. Yes, we are backing off of the elevator complex as well as the new building and the artifacts and leaving them in place for the Stettler Grain Elevator Museum. We would give them the funds that were already donated and allocated for the elevator, which was private money. Then the society would refocus its efforts to other preservation, heritage, or agricultural heritage preservation projects in the community, including the Homestead Park, with the AGLC funds and any other fundraising we do from this point on. That's option 2. So what it looks like, this is also us taking away our claim on the elevator project for the purposes of AGLC. So we would release it so that someone else could do that. So it's trying to be friendly in the negotiation and just backing off, going to do our own thing. Option 4 is to essentially wind down the society, dissolve it, and give those things over to some other charities and societies, disperse them I believe that would have to be done at the direction of the membership again, because there's some very critical responsibility that comes with funds that we have already collected for something and now we're redirecting it to something else. There's a lot of responsibility around that. So you're definitely, I do believe we'd have to do that. It requires a special meeting anyway. You're all going to be a part of that. That's option 4. Are we clear again? Option 2? Yes?
Point of clarification is that the preferred option for the board technically isn't on your list, so you're just eliminating the what-if options, and then we're going to have a member vote on, do we support the board's preferred option? Is that our process?
The preferred option being the top part of that sheet?
Yes.
Okay, well, that is by default the support that the society had, and we are pursuing that. So remember, that is by default the support that we got from the last AGM, and we are pursuing that avenue primarily. If it does not go through, then we're looking for what next? Your point?
No, simply that given there's 12 months of
Yeah.
crap happening since that AGM, is that vote from last AGM still valid, or should this group today say yes or no to the board? Because you guys put it together, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that that's.
Just give me a moment and I'll just consult my vice. We've got to do something, I guess, essentially is we've got to go somewhere. So this is where we're going. I will just leave it as it is. Okay? Yes, Lyle?
Mr. Chairman, I'm just wondering what kind of a favor we would be doing with option number 4 by just passing our problems on to some other organization that have to go through the same thing you. I'd tell you to go to hell if you're trying to give me any part of it.
True.
That'll be determined by Stan's.
Yeah.
If Stan's new board doesn't find a way that they're not gonna get any grants, they're not gonna get anybody, so what are they gonna do?
Yeah. I would say these things are gonna be determined by how well we do with our top end of our proposal. Like, I mean, so it's the top part of this proposal. If we can get, like, we're really striving to do something like that can work together for this purpose. And so that's ultimately what we're going for. And if that doesn't work, then we're saying, where do we go next? We've had a variety of ideas and a variety of other options and things that we would like to do something. As a society, we want to do something that is encouraging, can restore fun. We can get together and do something of benefit in the community again. Something to preserve the we don't really want to stop, but what we've got to do is find out from you as the membership, being as how this is going and not gone, or how it's going or not going, we've got to do something. So we're looking for the direction of where do we go? Yes, Lyle.
Just a quick comment, like, how much longer are you guys gonna do this? It looks to me like you're beating the shit out of the dead ones.
Yep.
Yeah, well, so some of that's going to get covered in the next little bit when we go to elect people. There is certainly some giving up going on. Yes, Verna?
This is the third board that he has gone through since he started, when he purchased it for $1. We have the original board members here. We have the second board members here. And this is the third board members that have fought the same fight with him, that we cannot get any further. And we are tired of kicking that dead horse.
And I congratulate you people for sticking with how you.
Yeah. The impact of that is, I mean, I'm a young guy, I'm still working, although I am a grandfather, and trying to run my business, trying to take care of my house, and I'm getting tired. I'm getting really tired. I don't have energy to do this kind of thing anymore. So, okay.
Excuse me, there was other option that was out there that Clint was working on with the Homestead Park and the K property. Are we dismissing that?
Well, that is option 2. That is the Homestead Park. Like, essentially, the Homestead Park has been donated to the town and has been requested the P&H Elevator Preservation Society be responsible for it. And so I guess that is a responsibility that our society has, that if we disband, there is like, okay, now what do we do? You know, it needs to be turned over to some other society, and we want to be responsible for that. So that is essentially where we're going, but I don't want to hold a carrot out to you and say, hey, we're gonna take over that other homestead. It does sound like a project that is very viable, and it would be something that would be tremendously complementary to the elevator. And so that is certainly, we would like to pour energies into something like that rather than fighting. And we can work together on something that, gotta remember, the fact is, we're not all gonna be here for very much longer. And we wanna set this up so that something can carry on, although you ain't gonna care one bit once you're in the grave. But we sometimes think it would be good to do something for the posterity. And that's, I guess, why we're here, because we care. Okay, may I proceed with the vote of these 2 options? Are we clear on what they are? Option 2 is withdraw from the elevator complex and focus our energies in another place. Option 4 is roll over and die and give it to someone else. Is that clear? Okay. Now let's have a vote again. Option 2. Please hold your cards up.
Too many heads going up in the.
20.
You, I think it's 20. I had 19, but I think maybe I missed you.
I got 20 as well.
20? Okay.
Okay.
That's what he taught those kids all the way.
Oh,
No wonder they didn't do so well.
do we have 20 consensus is? Okay, option 4. Cards up for option 4.
Uno, that's easy. Even I can do that one. 2.
Okay. Option 2, now again, I just want to reiterate, I used the term voting numerous times, and it's not binding. We now have direction of where you would like us to focus our energy. Yes,
Point of order, what damage does it do to have a show of support for the board proposed motion? Or option?
For the top one.
No problem. Go ahead.
yeah, absolutely.
We've already done this.
Yeah.
Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah. So how about let's do that? The top option, the option we are currently pursuing with negotiations with the Stettler Agri-plex Museum, can we have you raise your orange cards to show your vote of support for that? And what you're saying is, do you support us in pursuing that? Let's get a number on that.
Well, just down and opposed.
Okay.
Another one just came up.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I would say that passed with the majority.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just for fun, you could say who's opposed. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Then we have direction on that. That concludes that part of our meeting. Thank you for your participation. Okay, then the next up is election of board of directors. So we want to confirm there are 6 directors carrying on, which is so we've had 2 directors resign, and there are 2 directors not going forward, which is Norm Storch and Peter Miller. That is what we have confirmed at this point. And I guess the question now would be, we think we have 6. Now, given the circumstances of what we have just chosen, I give the option of any of the rest of the board to choose to not proceed. So I would just ask you now, the rest of you, choose whether you wish to let your name stand, and then we will go on to ask for any more nominees. I'll start. I will let my name stand for 2 reasons. Number 1, it takes so much work to change directors and to get signing authority, to get the thing set up as president, that I feel like I just got going. I am exhausted and I cannot carry on at the pace that I was. But I would like to stay on to see things get properly taken care of, and to just reduce friction and to increase workability of going forward for another year. Thank you. Next up is Joey. Do you let your name stand?
Yes.
If you will, Brad, I
Okay. Okay.
much to my wife's dismay. But your wife's dismay also.
Yes.
Our wives can be angry together. They can have a support group.
Yeah, that's true. I acknowledge the impact of our spouses on this. Absolutely. And what we're looking for is a future with less resistance, a little more fun, and a little less, more like recreation instead of work. Clint, you let your name stand.
I will let my name stand.
Okay, thank you. Good night. Verna.
Yes, I will, if you all come out to the Wiener Roast. May 23rd, we're having an old-fashioned Wiener Roast over at Homestead Park.
There is only one Wiener.
It's old-fashioned on pitchforks.
Bring your torches and pitchforks.
Steve, you show respect, all right?
Okay. Tracy, you let your stand. Okay, so we have 6, and which are our minimum requirements for a board? Oh, yes.
Speak up, please. Speak out your name.
Okay, speak again, Jen.
I will let my name stand.
Okay, thank you. Jen says she will let her name stand as well. Okay, awesome. Awesome, okay. So while we are one above the minimum requirements, or the minimum for us as a board, it would be nice to have, we were calling for 3 more so that we can make some, have a responsible board. While not being having things too burdened. So now I just put it out, are there any nominees to join the board for the next year? It's a year, at this point, it is still a year's term.
I make cookies at every board meeting.
What about cinnamon rolls?
Okay.
Well, everyone put your hands up at once.
Yeah. I can understand. So we'll pass it around one more time. If anybody is serious about it or considering, please give your indication. Otherwise, we are going to close the opportunity and move on. Is that a responsible thing to do? Okay. Okay.
Call 3 times.
Oh, okay, Jen says we gotta call 3 times. Okay, well, that was twice. Okay, 3rd call for any nominees. Understanding full well the resistance. It's not easy. But we are looking for a future of work. Huh? No, but I also want to be truthful. We're looking for a future of more fun. Okay, 3rd call, no go. That concludes that part. We are 6 board members moving in the next year. What we hope to do is create something that is more fun. So next time we'd have more people more excited.
Should we move nomination cease and we have, say that the board will remain as is?
Thank you, Anita.
You're welcome.
Yes, Anita moves that we cease nominations and accept the board as it stands. We have a seconder. Lyle seconds the motion. All in favor? Okay. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so the next is, what time are we at, Joey? 9 bells. Okay, now what I want to present to us here, you've all received the new bylaws and what we are, you read over them, tremendously boring material. But what we are looking for at this time is simply yes to move forward, or yes to accept them as they are right now. Remember, they can be edited and changed next year. Yes to accept them right now, or no. We vote them down. And if that is the case, or I should say any other deliberations, what we would appreciate, what we are requesting is your recommendations in writing so that we can begin making the edits to present them again. But I am looking for, we will just open it up for about 10 minutes of discussion, and then we will come to a simple vote of yes, adopt them the way they are, or no, pending revisions and reviews. All that I can say for it, We had written these up with the intention of having it's termed in them as chief operating officer, I believe, but it would be like a curator, similar to the way the museum runs with a paid person who curates and looks after it. That may or may not be how things go, but that was the intention of writing it to that degree. And also with some other changes to membership, to what terms are, a few updates like that. And we ran it past community grants. We had their review committee look at it. We also ran it past AGLC to see if they had any other recommendations for it. They both gave us a few edits. We incorporated those edits and presented them. The other challenge is to see whether they will be accepted by the corporate registries, yes. And we asked them to do a review, and they said 6 to 9 months. So even if we adopt them now, we're not going to get word from them because they will not. I'm saying it's the best that I understood my conversations with them. We can approve them, but they will not be ratified with them until they approve it. And they said give us 6 to 9 months to do that. Yes, Lyle?
How long has the new board got to veto them? If they don't want it to be approved, can the new board will have something to say in that board decision?
You say the Stettler Grain Elevator Museum Society? Well, like any of them, if they are members of this society, they can say what they want with it, but it has really no reflection on them or their society. Like it's our bylaws. And so what we would invite, and in our conversation with Dave, he definitely had a few things. He said, well, we have some things that we want to change. Well, I said, well, bring those to us, would be great. And like I say, given the current state of affairs, even if we should approve the new set of bylaws, I mean, we're going to be into next AGM before anything is, and we can either approve them as they are, or we don't approve them and we'll continue making changes. I do believe, as just a matter of a point of order, our original bylaws they were approved by corporate registries a long time ago, and that is what the new board used. They used those same set of bylaws because they already had been approved, and it works. Just put them in there. So essentially, the new society began with the same set of bylaws. And I think, like, Dave Goodwin had a proposal at last AGM that he had worked on quite a bit, and we used a fair bit of those in our review here as well. And I think, he had just stated to me that he's working on getting those passed in their board. So, but that's really just casual information. And so, can they veto this? Well, one of the things that could be, and which Dave brought up, is in order for us to work together as boards, they would have something to say, hey, we'll work together if you change this in your bylaws. Well, that's what we would like. That's why we're having the discussion, is we're saying, what are those things? Let's discuss it. Because we put a lot of those things in place. We realize, again, being young, maybe we could regulate trouble out of a society. I don't think it's possible. And at the end of the day, I don't know really how much. There's a very basic set of functioning bylaws that are required. The rest of it just requires people to get along and create good policy. Again, when proper board process is followed, things work. And bylaws don't make or break a society. Now, I speak that as my opinion. They had what was there, what is there right now is still a basic minimum, and it's a lot easier to change policies and bylaws. So, any other conversations? Yes, Teresa.
These bylaws were based on the fact that we were going to have a coordinator or a curator at that time? And was that not based at a time that Stan was going to become curator?
That was our intention, yes.
So with the fact that we are not going to have a curator, should we be looking at these bylaws the way that they're written right now?
Well, we could, yet at the same time, we could see inside of what some other, there's a lot of societies that will have a, and I would speak to it being more of a governance society, you wind up with someone to take care of operations. And that's what we were trying to put in place, was a more of a governance kind of bylaw that would allow for a curator. Do I speak correctly on that one? So whether we proceed with that option or not, it also, I mean, we could remove it. Yes, we could. It also doesn't really hinder things in the future. If the provision is there, should we want it or need it?
So why don't we just defer it at this point in time, 9/10? We can defer the bylaws until the special meeting that we have, and we'll have a chance to look for. Because you're asking these guys to pass it, but then you're saying that the new board, if they come in, or the new society, can sit there and say, well, we're only gonna change just, we'll come along if you change this. So you can't ask these people to accept it, and then you're gonna change it again, maybe later on, based on what the new society is going to do.
I do think, if I can say something, I do think that we need to have a good set of bylaws to run your organization. And the one that we had before was one that was causing us problems because it didn't have enough information. And this at least gets you started and gets you going again. And if we don't need to worry about them, they've got to do their own set of bylaws and their own whatever. So we need to look after ourselves and our own bylaws. And if we need to make changes in a year, we'll have to make changes. But basically, it's pretty well done, and I don't see where there's gonna be big issues. I'm sorry, I'm talking to you, I'm back to you.
Sorry.
I got a loud voice, but.
I should have had you come up, I'm sorry. Yes, and I would just speak to that too, just to agree to that point. There are numerous things in there that we got resolved that I think would really help support us. And yes, there are those extra things, and understanding the process. Well, I mean, we're in fluid. We don't know what the future is going to look like. We're in fluid, but I think we're covered. None of it is going to impede our future, and we can always change that as we need going forward.
I think speaking to the saying a veto or something like that, in reality, it's just the members have one vote each. You'd have dual members in both societies. You're still only carrying one vote, so there's no veto process or something. That would be a discussion for the negotiating down the road, I guess, if to solve the major problem is maybe a bylaw as a negotiating point or something. But as far as there being a veto from the other society, that wouldn't exist. It would just be a vote tonight if they're a dual member of both societies, sort of thing. So maybe that clarifies that a bit. But
Personally, I don't think bylaws are negotiable, are negotiating material. Your bylaws are your laws of your society, so.
I would say myself, we go ahead and a vote, but.
Anita, would you be putting forth a motion to approve as presented?
I will make a motion to approve the bylaws, the new bylaws as presented.
Okay, and it's Donna Fox, correct?
Yeah, I'll second.
Donna Fox seconds it. Okay, out with your voting cards. All in favor?
Brad, this is a motion before the society. What happened to the discussion?
There was, we had the discussion. Do we all accept that discussion was had? No, hang on, just put your hands back down. Not voting right now. Can we all agree that discussion was had?
I had discussion, I don't know if anybody had discussion.
Okay. And any opposed? Okay, discussion was had. Now let's move on with approval for, the motion was Anita, yes. Anita made the motion, Donna Fox seconded. Can we approve that?
All in favor?
All in favor? Orange cards up, all in favor, and we'll try and get her counted.
I'm just.
Numbers gotta be on.
What do you get?
Well, I forgot already. More than 20, I mean, it's half. Count the notes, it's a smaller number.
I got 22.
I got 22.
Yeah, it's.
Okay. Okay, all opposed. Who does not agree? Hand, orange cards up for who does not agree.
Yeah, much larger.
Okay, motion carried. Bylaws are approved by the membership. Now we go on to the next place of satisfying the government. Okay. Then that concludes, there was no additional business. Now, I ask for someone to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Anita.
I adjourn the meeting.
And Mr. Strandquist seconds it. All in favor?